What is going on, everyone? It's Tuesday, so we're live. We're probably going to do, I don't know. We're probably going to end up doing Best Ball Mania. If you guys have like a strong take as to something we can join, you got to let me know right now, and I'll join into something else. Maybe the puppy. If like people really want to join some puppy drafts, we can do that. Maybe we can get in on like a mini schnauzer or something. But if a few people comment onto which contest we want to join, we can do that. Underdog switched to all 22nd for the fast ones, which is probably what they had to do. I mean, let's be honest. They couldn't really afford to have a 22nd and a 30-second. There's not really that much difference, and you're splitting it amongst two people. So let me know. First couple people who say puppy versus Pomeranian versus Best Ball Mania, we'll join into that one. Looks like we are on the clock in this one, so maybe we can make this pick while we're waiting here for someone to make a suggestion. Oh, the last pick in the draft. You'll love to see it. All right, we got a Burrow Kyler team with Hampton, Henderson, Mason, White, Wright, Sampson. All right, that's a pretty good build. We probably need a tight end. I mean, I only have Njoku and Gesicki, so I'm not feeling that great there. Cincy, Arizona, we're not going to get really a stack or anything. Maybe we just take Ferguson. Tight ends are pretty gross, though. Oh, no, why don't we just take Yoshi? We have the Cincy stack. We'll go there. All right. That's how we'll round out that one. Beautiful. All right. Looks like we want to see Best Ball Mania. All right. Let's do it. Let's do a Best Ball Mania. I doubt it's going to let me join in on here, but we will try. Obviously, one of them. Oh, wow. It actually let me on the computer. Beautiful. So if you guys are able to join into Best Ball Mania right now, see if somebody can get in on that one. I think I have I don't remember what the screen said, 80 or 80 drafts yet to do. So I'm going to need to be doing a lot of those later on. I feel like I was at a better pace last year, joining more each day. But I also wanted to backload a little bit. We just know more come, late July into August. So I want to try and get a few more drafts in August. That's why I was trying to do that. And there's also been a decent amount of other drafts that we can join. I definitely like the mid-range stuff. I can do more single entry and 3-entry max stuff. Okay, let's see if we have any questions here. Who are some later round running back wide receivers you are drafting this year that you could see being first or second round picks next year? All right, I mean, obviously that's aggressive, right? Trying to hit on a late round pick that's going to be a first round pick next year. Who do I think would be most likely in that range? We'll go like ADP 100 plus. I would say Tootin would be one. If he just completely took over and looked as explosive as we think he can be, and Jacksonville just takes off, then yeah, he could be like a first or second round pick next season. I guess theoretically Ray Davis if you had a major injury to Cook, but that's probably pretty unlikely. Trey Benson, theoretically, James Conner getting up there in age. He's kind of the heir apparent. If Conner suffered an injury and Trey Benson started to break out, that could be something. Guerrero, what if McCaffrey gets hurt in camp again? He's just done for the rest of his career. Guerrero's the starter. They trust him, and he goes out there and he's crushing. He could be someone we rely on. Other than that, don't really see anyone that's overly likely to be that early of a pick at running back. I don't see any of these names actually doing anything. Where are we? We at the turn 11. All right. Oh God. Oh my. What is happening? All right. Well, we're gonna have to go back into the. I hate when it does that on the screen. What it's gonna be around this range. There we go. All right. And we will pull this up for you all. But I'm answering that question, so I kind of want the screen here. Okay, at wide receiver, let's see. First or second round receiver in this range. Probably no one, to be honest with you. No one that I've seen so far. Keon, I guess theoretically, if you were Keon takes a step forward, he turns into an alpha there. I think it's super unlikely, but theoretically, I suppose that could occur. There's really no one. like a first or second, that's being aggressive. If we're talking like maybe mid-range, Tillman could start to break out, and maybe Tillman's commanding like a 17 to 18% target share downfield. Maybe they figure quarterback out as well. Besh, honestly, theoretical chance of kind of like taking that next step, or taking like a step forward into year 2 if he has a good rookie season. Pat Bryant, what if he commands like a huge target share this season and he becomes the one over Cortland Sutton? But again, pretty thin for a lot of these players. Pretty thin. All right. 11-13, we're probably going to wide receivers if we can. Like we would want to of Neighbors, Nico, Amon-Ra, Brian. That would be great. If we can't, then we would take one of Jeanty or Derrick Henry. It's a pretty clear top 14. I do think Drake London sometimes maybe you want to throw in there if you're not getting a ton of him, but we won't do that in this one. It's a relatively clear top 14 this season, I think, ahead of Drake London, and we're going to end up getting 2 of those players. So ADP and the rankings both say Amon-Ra. Tomorrow is going to be a massive video. So tomorrow is an 80-minute video going over the top 36 wide receivers. And I had a section where I talked about Amon-Ra St. Brown just being like, this is the profile of a player that should cost you a top 5 pick. Like every year that should be a top 5 pick, but it's not this season. Just because there are so many amazing wide receivers. Let me pull up this for you all. There's so many amazing wide receivers this season that you can get some very, very high-end players in the end of round 1. Amon-Ra, I think he was, I think it's 115 receptions, over 250 yards, double-digit touchdowns. Only 16 wide receivers have like ever had a stat line like that, and some of them have done it multiple times. And only like Adams and Antonio Brown have done it in back-to-back years. And Amon-Ra joins that group. So he is exceptional. Even if you think that there's going to be some sort of like pullback on, maybe the offensive success for Detroit this season, that impacts like Monty, right? If they score fewer touchdowns and there's in games closer later on, then that's not really going to be some huge problem for Amon-Ra. He's just going to be more targeted in the later rounds, and like the later portions of games. Fourth quarter, they're going to throw the ball at a higher rate. They're going to be more aggressive. So I really don't think it's that big of a problem. Maybe you could argue the play calling will be worse, but it's like, it's not going to be bad. They're still going to be a good team. And there's no one else stepping up. We know it's Gibbs, Monty at running back. We know it is Amon-Ra, J-Mo, and Laporta. Maybe Isaac Tesla has a couple targets this season, has a few good games because he is super athletic. But at the end of the day, we know where the targets are going. We know it's going to be a good team. We know they get a ton of dome games. They get, I think, their last 6 games in a row in a dome. Like, he's going to be an amazing pick. He shouldn't cost a late first-round pick. But he should because of how many good players there are. But historically, this profile of player should not be going this late. So it makes, late first-round picks really good. But yeah, we get him. Brian Thomas Jr., is a stud. I don't think I have to really sell you on Brian Thomas Jr. Like, we're looking for extreme upside in these 2 picks. And I love going wide receiver, especially on Underdog early this season, because this mid-range, it doesn't always happen, but a lot of times there's some pretty good running back values that I want to be attacking. I run into a lot of situations where I start off running back heavy and I'm like, let's go, I'm going to load up on all these wide receivers. But then people keep going after all these wide receivers, and it still becomes a situation where I just feel so weak at receiver that, I don't know. I don't like going running back heavy this year. If I can avoid it, I do. All right, second question. How do we feel about second-year receivers going into redraft this year? Ladd, Brian Thomas Jr., Neighbors. Do they deserve to be picked this high? Ladd, especially on a run-first offense, scares me the most. Thoughts. So I actually talk about that also. Again, it's a wide receiver video, top 36. All those guys are top 36. I think Neighbors is awesome. He's an absolute freak. He was absolutely incredible on a per-play basis on earning targets last season. He deserves to be, mid-first-round pick. Kind of gave my thoughts on Brian Thomas Jr. a second ago, but he's also a stud. We know Trevor Lawrence can elevate this offense from what Mac Jones was doing. We know Travis Hunter will make it so they can't focus on only shutting down Brian. He works downfield, which we love in fantasy. There's really not a lot negative you can say about him besides maybe Travis Hunter steals a couple targets, but that's not the end of the world. 35. We're probably going JSN, but if you wanted to go like Lamar here, I think that would be fine. I also think it would be fine to go Terry and hope we can get Jaden at the next one, which actually I think I'm going to do. Let's go Terry McLaurin at this pick, and let's see if we can stack him with Jaden Daniels. And if we don't get that, odds are we still got JSN anyways, who we would have taken if we weren't going for this stack. And I don't think they would go, it's still a pretty good value getting JSN, though, if we wanted to go 4 receivers. But for Terry to work out, it's pretty good value getting Jaden Daniels. So I will gift someone a 39 overall JSN. That's incredible value. You're welcome to the person who just got that. But I think this makes more sense. We get that stack, Jaden and McLaurin. We probably don't need to go 4 wide receivers in a row. So a great start here. I love most of the second-year wide receivers. Ladd, I mentioned again in the video that I do think there's, reason to be somewhat concerned about the run-heavy nature of the Chargers offense. They want to run it. They couldn't totally do it last season because they weren't overly efficient, but that's why they drafted Murray Hampton. That's why they tried to bring in Najee. They want to run the football, and that could be a problem if they get up in games. And you also have, Trey Harris there. You also have Quentin Johnson. It's not like they don't have people to throw to. So I get being somewhat hesitant, but at the end of the day, he's also a stud. He deserves to go in round 2. If you wanted to take Rashee ahead of him, I think that's fine. I don't think I would put him into that T. Higgins, Marv, Adams, Garrett Wilson. I don't think he deserves to go down to there, even if you think it might be run heavy. Just because he could also have 110 receptions this season. He was phenomenal on a per play basis last year. So I'm really I think the one I'm most excited about, I'm in that group, obviously, is Neighbors. I think there's a world where Neighbors has 200 targets this year. So I love loading up on him in the mid. Ryan, honestly, at 10 overall, we almost got him at 11. I think I have him 7th, right ahead of Puka. 200 targets is in his range of outcomes this season. So definitely like him. But again, I don't want to talk too much about these wide receivers. It's an 80-minute video tomorrow. Definitely watch that one. Half PPR. Could Jeanty finish the season better than McCaffrey? Injury aside, how high is his ceiling? If you got a full 17 weeks from both of them, I'd be pretty surprised if Jeanty surpassed McCaffrey. I think touches are obviously a lock for Jeanty, but McCaffrey just has so much higher potential in the receiving game. Every week he goes out there, you should be expecting 4 or 5 receptions. That's not going to be the expectation for Jeanty. And then also the offense, touchdowns can be random, but the 49ers are just objectively going to score more touchdowns this season than the Raiders are, unless the Raiders just exceed every expectation out there. And schedule, I think the 49ers have the easiest schedule in the entire NFL. So a lot of factors pointing towards McCaffrey. The only reason it would flip-flop there is, in injuries. You can't actually guarantee a full 17 weeks from McCaffrey, whereas it's a little bit more likely from Jeanty. In terms of his actual ceiling, though, you could have a season where McCaffrey gets injured and misses time, and maybe Saquon takes a small step back from what he did last season. Maybe Bijan doesn't hit his ceiling, and Jeanty is right amongst the top 3. So that's still within his range of outcomes. But I think where he goes makes a lot of sense just because he is just on the worst offense. And we do know that lower scoring offenses, even if they're going to be run heavy and fast paced, lower scoring offenses are bad for running backs. You're not winning as much. There's a lower potential for touches and then touchdowns as well. If you're not winning as much, it's because you're not scoring fantasy or real life points, which translate to fantasy points. Okay, 59, we love Ken Walker, so we'd absolutely take him. I would also take Calvin Ridley. Just keep loading up on receiver. I'm totally fine going wide receiver heavy, hoping we can hit on some wide receivers in the later rounds. If we can't get that, it's we will, but if we couldn't get that, I would probably go with Joe Mixon. Again, just kind of feeding into another running back. I wouldn't be against it, but I kind of force this team to take their third running back, which is what I had alluded to before, and that if you start off running back heavy, Mixon's a good pick here, and they can totally take Mixon along with Jeanty and Henry, but it will be 6 rounds where they do not have a wide receiver, and that's danger zone. So they should go at least 1, and they probably should go with 2. But if they end up taking the third one there, I don't know. It's something you just kind of force teams to do, force them to play suboptimally. And if they choose not to, I just get some good value. And if they choose to, maybe it just hurts their team in the long run. If they go with Mixon, I would say just take Jeudy. We can't really play the ADP game, so there'd be no reason to do that. Debo gets taken. I mean, Debo was 70. We probably weren't going to end up getting him. And for our team, we're not going to. Yeah. All right, I think we just go with Mixon. I think the team is turning out nicely, and we don't need to double stack Jaden Daniels. Like, single stacking is fine. He can get there with no stack. Like, he can get there because he ran for 100 yards and a touchdown, and he just randomly hit some guys, and no one necessarily had a huge game. But if you're going to stack him with anyone, you'll want to stack him with Terry McLaurin, who's going to be the deep threat on the offense. So love the start so far. We've got the 4 wide receivers, Amon-Ra, Bryan, Terry McLaurin, and Jeudy. We've got a stack Daniels with Terry McLaurin. I should pull up who the Commanders play in the fantasy playoffs. And then Mixon as our one-off. We're obviously going to need a little bit more help at the running back position, but that's what the later rounds are for. Last season, it didn't work out because all the early running backs stayed healthy. That's not going to happen every year. Giants, Eagles, and Cowboys. So we don't have anything yet. We can definitely get some Giants receivers later on. We can go after Slayton. We can go after Wandale. We could even get one of Scattaboo. We could get Turner Tracy Jr. Eagles is probably cooked at this point. Dallas Goedert, I guess we go after. And then championship weekend, Dallas. Ferguson would probably be our top option, or one of the running backs is probably what we're looking at. So we have options, certainly. All right. Very simply, Mooney is ranked pretty high. What's the justification behind this? Well, because he was better than his ranking last year. Like, if you just look at what he did last season, he was better than where he's currently ranked and way better than where he's currently going. But on top of that, the offensive situation is going to be better, right? Like, Kirk Cousins was horrible last season. So the overwhelmingly likely outcome is that Penix is a step up from what we saw from Cousins last year. So that'll improve. Their defense stinks, and they're playing in a division with horrible defenses. So there's going to be so many shootouts in Atlanta. They play in a dome. Like, everything looks good for the Falcons this season, and he's a clear locked-in, second wide receiver. And again, just last season, he outperformed where he's currently going. You love the 20 and 30 seconds, very fast versus gives me some time to think. I mean, it's 10 seconds. And there's always that lag second, right? Like, I feel like when it goes to here, it's actually at like 18 or 19 half the time. So I don't think there's a huge difference between 20 to 30 seconds. If you want more time to think, do a slow draft. I just think from like a filling perspective, like, you don't want people as a user experience just sitting there waiting for 10 minutes for their draft to open. Like, that's just annoying. So I think condensing kind of had to happen. Won't have to happen in August. Once August happens, you're going to be joining into drafts instantly. But this time of year, I think it makes sense. And I don't know. I like them more because realistically, if you do a lot of these drafts and you kind of know what you're doing, you can make these decisions quickly. It's got to benefit you, right? Like, I kind of think like I shouldn't be doing so many slow drafts because I entered like one fast draft the other day and I'm like, man, I'm getting such better values because slow drafts, people have time to think. And so they're typically drafting pretty solid teams. You enter a fast draft and sometimes people just like completely disregard any sort of value. I don't think I want to take Judkins here. I think we just need to know more about that situation. So I would probably pass on him. Looks like we don't get any value with this pick. But maybe we go with Aaron Jones. Lock in. I have the rule one Minnesota player in each team. I feel like we locked that in. We don't have a KC player, so it doesn't make sense to go with Mahomes. We don't need to take either of those wide receivers that are taken there. It's just so hard with the Judkins situation because we truly have no idea what's going to happen. Like, if something comes of this, is it next year? Is it the year after? Is it this season? Does he get suspended for like 2 or 4 games? Like I have no idea what's going to occur. So it's kind of tough. We're at 86 though, and I don't think his ADP is going to like stop here. So I don't think from that perspective we have to go with him. Part of me wants to go with Hawkinson and do a Viking stack here. I think that's probably the play. We go with Hawkinson. We get Hawkinson plus Aaron Jones as a nice little stack. We still feel good about these receivers. Feel okay about the running backs. Obviously, we feel good about quarterback. I kind of want for Judkins just to see where he's going. I don't think we have enough data yet. I'll pull up the ADPs. I don't think we have enough data yet to like actually see where he's trending. But I just don't think he's done falling. And if he's actually going to fall into like the mid 90s, I want to start loading up where we think his ADP is going to like settle, if that makes sense. And I don't think his ADP is done settling yet. But let me see. I'll pull up the chart for Judkins this summer. And all right, so that's Judkins. So he starts up here, drop down, kind of stabilizes. News comes out, boom. And this is not a chart that indicates any sort of stabilization. So once we see it start to stabilize a little bit, that's when I'll be like, okay, start to hop on board. Because he is like, I don't know. I mean, he still has upside. Obviously, I made the video being like his ADP didn't make a whole lot of sense, just given that like he's on projected like lowest scoring team in the NFL. That historically has not produced running back ones or running back twos at a very high rate. It's not like he was the first running back drafted. So it's like there were a lot of factors where he was already going too early. So I want to see where he falls to. But if he ends up going at like pick 110, now we're starting to throw that out a little bit more and be like, okay, well, we're amongst the backups now. Like he is a starting running back, as long as he doesn't get like cooked with suspensions and stuff and I don't know, gets thrown in jail. Like I have no idea what's going to happen. So we'll see. Not going to hop on board yet. First time watching fantasy content this year. Yeah, you and a lot of people. Actually, most people start joining in like mid-August and really need to pay attention. How much auction dollars would you spend on the top 3 running backs, Gibbs, Saquon, and Bijan, a 14-team half PPR league? Roughly $60 to $70 on a $200 format. In that general range. I probably wouldn't extend too far past that, but they should probably all be going for 60s. Alrighty. 107, 110. Running backs are weakest spot. I would take Jalen Moore. I would also take Tyron. Remember, we have the potential Giants stack with Jane Daniels, so that would make sense for us to go after. I wouldn't want Travis Kelce. I would only want Caleb Williams on Chicago teams. We don't have another Chicago player. Trey Harris is falling because of the contract situation. He shouldn't be falling because of the contract situation. He's going to play this year, so I wouldn't worry about that. We could go like Tyron and Scadaboo and just lock in all Giants running back scores. But I think Tyron makes sense definitely at this pick. I don't think there's really a question. I think he's the best running back on that team, especially on early downs. I think if you wanted a situation where the Giants got up in this playoff game and the Commanders were trailing, which is, again, that was what you would want, that would benefit Tracy, the better running back. So I think that's what we go with. I don't think I want to go tight end. We can capitalize on Trey Harris. I mean, there's no reason his ADP should be dropping. We don't have anyone for May. No, okay. Should we go Trey Harris maybe? It probably makes more sense. We should probably live in a world where if we're winning Best Ball Mania, Scadaboo ends up being nothing. Trey Harris or Tyron Tracy Jr. just ends up being clearly the top running back. And again, don't worry about the contract situation for Trey Harris. He's going to end up signing. It stinks if he misses some camp. Like, it's not a good thing, but he was never a pick in this range where you were expecting him to go off in week 1. Like, he's going to play this season. Every single second round pick, they've signed like 2 or 3 of them. They're not all not going to play this season. He's going to sign. So I don't know if his ADP is going to drop. I'll capitalize on that because I have not been drafting him much, but I will now. Was there a rankings update released today? No, I don't think so. I don't think there was anything today. It took me all day to continue making that video. Again, I think it's the longest video on the channel by like 20 minutes. So it took so long to end up making that today that I didn't have time to go through a rankings update. I'll probably do a small one tomorrow, but I don't think there was anything really to update for today. Once camp's open, we'll get some more updates. What do you think about Tyreek in round 2 of Best Ball Mania when drafters are already getting in round 3? Best Ball Mania is only like, what? I'll pull it up over here. 20-something% filled. I wouldn't worry about that too much. It was different when it was like Jordan Mason a few years ago. Or was it Jordan Mason? No. I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was Mason. I don't remember. Someone a few years ago where they were like a 12th round pick and then became a 5th round pick. It's like, okay, like that at that point, that's a huge difference. But Best Ball Mania is currently 37% filled. And probably 25% of that, people were getting him in round 3. It's a 1 round difference. It's really not that much. And it's at the turn. It's not like he was going in round 4. So I wouldn't worry. I'd be totally fine still taking him where he's going. Because also, those people, a lot of them who are taking him that late, they have less information than you. So as we keep going through, you're going to be building sharper and sharper teams. So you're going to have to assume that you're going to be paying more elevated price tags for better picks. Yeah, I wouldn't avoid that. Okay, what are we at now? 131, 134. We're pretty even, honestly, at everything. We don't have any. Oh, we do have. All right, so Goff would obviously be the play. Justin Herbert would also be a good play if we have Trey Harris, so we can get that second quarterback. Bye week is a problem for Herbert and Daniels, but we can just draft a third quarterback. That's not the end of the world. At tight end, Goddard would be fine. Goddard Loveland would be fine. I'm not in love with it. I think by far Jared Goff is our best play here, so we'll end up going with him. And that takes away the need for third quarterback. Wide receiver, probably a no-go. Running back, Ray Davis would make sense. Still don't know the contract situation for, okay, Ray Davis goes, for Cook. Could we go Herbert? It'd be a nice 3 build. Because he's by far my top player and in the rankings. I don't think I need to go Goddard. But it's not a bad play. I'm going to go Herbert. I don't know. I think maybe Goddard was probably the smarter play at that pick. But we get the 3 quarterbacks all stacked. And the third one was at value. Basically, my motto is if you get that third quarterback stacked at roughly around a value, you go for it. There has been some simulations done that kind of point to 3 quarterbacks being optimal. You unlock a situation where maybe Herbert has a horrible year, but then goes off later on, so you have that bad advancement rate, or low advancement rate, but then he does well in the fantasy playoffs. That's something that, tough to simulate, but then also just like if he has that bad year and you only have the 2, well, you're probably not advancing. So it's like you can kind of insulate yourself a little bit from that perspective. But again, I think Goddard would have still been a pretty strong play there. Can only keep 3. Who are you keeping? Achane for a 2nd round pick, JT for a 3rd round pick, London for a 4th, McBride for a 5th, McLaurin for a 7th, Worthy 8th, Daniels 9th, Jordan Mason 15th. Those are a lot of pretty good ones. I probably wouldn't keep Mason the 15th. It's just not a strong enough value at that point. I would say yeah, that's difficult. I might lean. It's difficult because you don't know what your 2nd round pick's going to be. If you knew it was a late 2nd round pick, early 3rd, I would say Achane, just because that's basically the same pick and you're getting the better player. I would say McBride's locked in. I would say, maybe Daniels as well. Just go Daniels, McBride, and then your favorite between JT and Achane in terms of the value there. And if you know, again, if you're going to have an early or late pick in those ones, and late 2nd round pick would say Achane, and early 2nd round pick would say JT. But I feel like you keep McBride and you keep Daniels, and you just say, I'm set, and then you just go off on all the other positions. That's what I would probably do. And then, yeah, favorite between JT and Achane. But I would be fine with, honestly, London the 4th if you wanted to do that instead. I'd be fine with that. I think the other 2 are locks. 155, 158. Okay. We're obviously not doing quarterback, so don't even have that on the screen. I don't think tight end makes sense at this pick. So I would say Rachaad White. I wouldn't be against Tank Bigsby. Like, the thesis basically being that, ETN gets traded away, Tank Bigsby's the 2, has a ton of upside if there's a Tootin injury, or maybe he just wins the job over Tootin. Rashad White goes. So I think Bigsby makes sense. Besh has been cratering, and again, I don't agree with the cratering. I think it's just been because there's been no news around him. I don't know between these two, though. Who's he got? Jeanty. Okay, so I'll take Bigsby because I don't know that he's going to take Besh. And if he does take Besh, I can just take Palmer or Pat Bryant and be fine with that. So I'll just take one of these 3 receivers, build a little evenly, and then we'll go with tight end a little bit later on. I mean, you can argue for Pitts, but Pitts by week 5. Who are the other options for us? Oh, they're not that good. All right, maybe we do go Pitts, actually. All right, I think that's good. Bigsby, Pitts. We get that second tight end. It's early enough to where I don't think we need to go a third tight end, but if we have the value available to us, we will. All right. Nice. I think it's going well. 4 picks left. We're probably going... Our running backs are Mixon, Aaron Jones, Taron Tracy, and Bigsby. I want at least 2 running backs. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to go 2 running back, 2 receiver. And I'm not super concerned what the order is there. If you had a choice of Chase Brown or Bucky Irving, who would you choose? Chase Brown. Right? Oh, no. Bucky Irving. Very close, though. I don't know if you guys have seen Chase Brown's week 1 over-under is like 48.5 rushing yards. The Wirfs injury throws a wrinkle into that, and we kind of don't know the timeline yet. That's going to impact Bucky. I put a small bump in there to kind of get him now behind JT, a little bit closer to Jacobs. Yeah, I think that's very close, though. Got to show standard scoring some love. You've done a couple of mock drafts the last few days, and you feel it goes running back heavy. I mean, yeah. So I will tell you, only 1% of people play standard scoring, so that's why there's not much content about it. Yeah, it goes running back heavy because running back's the only thing that matters. Like, you can have a sick wide receiver, and who cares? Like, as long as you have a running back getting, like, 17 carries a game, you've just got insanely high-end production. Can you explain the rookie and sophomore draft? You never saw it before. It's literally just a draft where you can only draft rookies and second-year players, which I think just came out. I'll swap over the IDs. I have rankings set up for it, but because it just came out, I don't have the IDs, I think, hooked up, so I can get that up soon. Dynasty half PPR Superflex. Would you trade T for Egbuka and a late 2027 first? Well, you don't know that it's going to be a late 2027 first. Anything can happen, and teams can tank. So theoretically, it has some potential to be a mid. I'll look at that in a second. My gut says I would, though. Like, I would rather T in the pick. Okay, 179. We said we wanted exposure to the Giants. It's a little bit of a reach for Slayton at the second one, but it's not that bad. I don't mind Rico. So Rico, Pierce, Slayton, Diami is kind of the players I'd be in on right now. Probably want to take Rico because I think there's a drop-off into Lloyd, and Lloyd typically falls later. Although with you guys in this draft, I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. Take Rico as that 5th running back. I don't think this guy's really going to take receiver. I mean, he's already got 7 of them. He kind of needs running backs at this point. So I would expect to see Braylon Allen go. And then, I mean, we'll see. Going Diami, just 8th receiver. My goodness. I think we probably do take Slayton over Pierce. I like Pierce. The team really likes Pierce. He's a deep threat. You know, when he hits, it's on, 5 receptions for 100 yards and a touchdown, which is what we want in this format. I think it's sort of also the case for Slayton, though, and we still have some of that risk that, maybe Adonai Mitchell kind of takes that step forward and actually does command more targets, gets a higher snap share than we were looking at last season. So that's my only concern, but I think Pierce is a pretty strong value in drafts. I just think getting the giant player there for the correlation made more sense. You're hoping that like Slayton hits deep, that Tyron runs for a big play, and all of a sudden you've got Jaden Daniels in trailing script with Terry McLaurin. That's how you can win $2 million. Okay, those two players. I'll pull up the Dynasty rankings in Superflex. I'll pull up wide receiver. Where's T? Good grief. Might have to type in his name. All right, T. Higgins. Yeah. I would rather T in the pick, for sure. Oh, wait. It's T for Egbuka in the pick. All right, that makes more sense. The value difference between Egbuka and T I have as 8. If we are looking at this year's rookie class, that's close. Because basically a late first-round pick this year is worth like 20. But then you have next year, and then you have the year after. So it's probably a pretty fair trade. If I'm doing it that way, Egbuka in the pick. I think I just want the side that has the pick. But I think I would give up T and do Egbuka in the pick. What are your thoughts on reaching for rookie running backs over guys like Connor and Kyron? Well, I guess who are the rookie running backs over Connor and Kyron? All right, so also I wouldn't put Kyron and Connor in the same class. So, well, I guess, okay. So like Hampton over Kyron, I would probably say no. I would take Kyron before these rookies. In terms of Connor, like I would take Hampton over him. Would I reach for like Travion and Harvey over Connor? I haven't projected basically the exact same. I mean, if I was doing Underdog, I would probably just get an even exposure to all of them. If I was in a redraft league, my gut says I want Harvey the most, so I think I'm good taking Harvey over James Conner. But I do like the Arizona offense this season, but not Kyron. Kyron should definitely be first amongst those groups. Okay. And we can go with Darren Waller as a third tight end. We're going to need another receiver. Are we going to need 2 more receivers? Maybe. Who are my guys? I probably should have made this pick earlier. Okay. Not ideal. I think we can go with Tesla at this pick. Again, I'm not in love with it, but we have Goff. We need another receiver. He can correlate well with him. We get Amon-Ra and Tesla. Decent correlation there. I don't think we need that one. So maybe we go with Adonai or we go with Roman. I do like Roman. I've been kind of moving him up the board recently. I just don't think we have to do that. Let's go with Waller. I think that was a difficult one. I've been moving Wilson up the board, but it's like I like to just do it on teams where I draft Aaron Rodgers. Basically, I mean, they drafted him pretty early last season. He looks 100% healthy now. He had all these injuries last year. Why couldn't get out there? He's a better wide receiver than Calvin Austin. And if he earns that wide receiver 2 role, that's valuable when no one's drafting him at all. So I like taking him around 18, but I like correlating it more with Aaron Rodgers. So don't think we have to do that. I think going with the third tight end makes a little bit of sense. Waller's a guy, on a team that is going to score a ton of fantasy points. We're just going to want exposure to the Dolphins offense. He's going to take it away from, Achane, Tyreek, Waddle that we don't have. So I like drafting him later on, just the potential that's there. And it's not like I'm like sold on Kyle Pitts. I don't think the wide receiver room ended up super strong, but the fact that we started Amon-Ra, Bryan, McLaurin, Ridley, gave us room to kind of draft these guys a little bit later on. I don't think it's like the strongest team in the world. And I don't love 3 quarterback and 3 tight end builds, but I felt good enough about the guys where if it's correlated, I'm cool with it. All right. Let's do another one. Let's go over to Best Ball Mania, 22nd, and we will enter 81 left. 81 drafts left. All right. Let's exit this. All right. Surprisingly wants a Viking stack. Yeah, I didn't end up getting it, though, technically, but still got them. I do have 100 drafts completed, just not 100 Best Ball Mania drafts completed. I think I'm at like, I don't know, 110 to 115 total. Judkins is still at ADP. Yeah, if he's not in jail, basically. Something is just starting to get talked about is 32nd round picks being unsigned. Yeah, I know that's being talked about. The entire second round of the NFL draft is not going to just not play this year. Like, these guys are still going to play. They're just waiting because all of them want a guaranteed contract. Like, what was it? Jaden Higgins got the guaranteed deal. Like, they all just want that. And so now teams are going to have to figure it out. And once a couple of them start signing, they're all going to play. It's not something to worry about. All right. Pick one keeper. 12-team half PPR. Baker in the 15th. Chase Brown in the 9th. That's definitely better. Gobner Worthy in the 6th. Nope. Chase Brown in the 9th. Knowing you have 0 shows of Brown. Oh, no. You're still taking him at that point. Like, that is easily the best value there. Why go 3 quarterbacks with Daniels? You spent way too much. Well, because of the things I talked about. Like, and what if Daniels misses 6 weeks? Like, you're basically just saying, I'm in Best Ball Mania. Like, I am trying to beat 600,000+ people. I need something to be low owned in the end. And I need someone with high upside to be low owned in the end. You don't think it's possible that Jane Daniels misses a month and a half, that he has a really low advancement rate because of that, because a ton of teams just draft, we're going Saquon, a ton of teams just draft one extra quarterback after that. They don't end up, no, I need to actually pull it up. They don't end up advancing at a high rate. Then maybe also he has a bad week 15 and we can just get a low rostered quarterback there. If it wasn't correlated with a player, I wouldn't take like a naked quarterback. I wouldn't take a quarterback at value, but a quarterback that we like at value stacked, there's still plenty of value there. And it's not like Jane Daniels is going to drop 30 every week. Like, there's still potential for some increased value to a point where the running backs and receivers in that range, I didn't necessarily think were amazing picks. So why force something, basically? Geno sleeper quarterback of the year. I do like Geno. Definitely stacked, though. Here's your thoughts on Judkins. We just have no idea. Like, we just don't know right now what's going to happen. We need more information to come out. We need to know if there are like charges, if he's got like a court date. Like, we need to know like what it's kind of looking like for any sort of potential suspension. We have no idea. And when he was already going a little bit too early, that's why he's cratering, because people were like, all right, yeah, I was already a little bit thin. Let's just put him down there because of the risk. But again, if he drops into like pick 100, it's going to start being a little bit more interesting. But again, it's not the contract. I wouldn't worry about contract with these guys. Dynasty trade. Judkins, 2026 first for JT in a second. I mean, I wouldn't like draft a rookie in your rookie draft and then all of a sudden trade him for something else. Like, this isn't the time to trade your rookies. They haven't done anything yet. I don't know that I want to give up a first round pick. So probably not. But it's probably pretty close in that deal. I don't really like trading away first round picks in Dynasty. They're like significantly better than second round picks. All right, at 23, we've got Saquon. We would have taken Rice. We probably would take Tyreek Hill. Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in because we kind of just miss out on that top tier. Yeah, there go all the good players. And then Bucky has the same bye week as... All right, here's what we're going to try. T, and then maybe we can go with McBride at the next pick. We take T. Higgins here. We hope he stays healthy all seasons. We would get that week 17 matchup with like T and McBride. Maybe they're the two that kind of go off, and we would stack that with Saquon, who could score 50 fantasy points any week. All right, well, there goes McBride. We can do the same thing with Marvin Harrison Jr. That was probably the play. And again, I don't like falling too far behind at the wide receiver position, and I don't like taking Saquon and Bucky, especially with this new injury, the offensive lineman for the Bucs, like, and potential regression for the team. I also think with Bucky, like, there's that potential that, like, you know, they had to win late in the year. Maybe Rachaad White gets a little bit more involved, especially on passing downs this year. Maybe they do actually give Sean Tucker some touches, like, and to do like the same bye week with Saquon, it's not amazing. It doesn't hurt that much, but I don't love it. So I'd rather just try to draft the two guys there. Nico or Drake London? Nico. What are your favorite running backs in RB0 build? You're really liking that path this year. All right. RB0. So we're looking at like round 5, 6 kind of plus. Travion, Harvey, James Conner, Swift, Caleb Johnson. Drops off, but Aaron Jones, Pollard to a degree, Jordan Mason, Jalen Warren, Tyron Tracy Jr., tier down into Tootin, Spears, Ray Davis, Rachaad White, Benson, Guerrero, Jaden Blue. That'd probably be who I'd be going after. And then just like handcuffs late, because that's a staple of RB0 is, you know, last couple rounds, try and draft some people's backups and hope there's an injury. Because then the people who drafted running back early get hurt. You benefit from the late pick. It's like a double kind of a benefit there. Thoughts on Team 12? Well, unfortunately, I changed it, so I don't know. Did this person land the ship in your opinion? What? Oh, 108. All right, I'll look at those two. Let's see. Had a very weird draft. Didn't love it, but felt like the strategy did sound. Think I went a little too deep into receiver. Took 7 through 10. It is pretty deep, but I don't mind it. Okay, so we need like drafts completed. Best Ball Mania. View the full draft. Full the draft board. All right. Wait, where are we at? All right, we have a second. This one, okay. McCaffrey, Jacobs, Harvey, Jalen Wright, Sanders. That's totally fine, I think. A.J. Brown, Metcalf, Waddle. No, I think that's fine. You got correlation 2 at... Well, I don't see the Caleb correlation. Oh, okay. Loveland. Burden. Nice. Okay. No, I think that's totally fine. I'm good going very wide receiver heavy. And I'll look at Team 12 in a second. I think that was a good draft. 47. I want Metcalf. I want J-Mo. I want Devonta Smith. James Cook is getting to be a pretty good value. I mean, he's not going to score like 18 touchdowns like last season, but he's still going to score touchdowns. I would definitely just, it's not even close. I would definitely take Metcalf and 100% take Devonta Smith if he's there. Question is at 50, I'd probably still take, James Cook went. Okay. So I'm going another receiver here, and we're just loading up. I don't even care which one it is. One of these three we'll end up taking, and that'll be a good start. Saquon, hero RB start. Higgins, Marv, with that correlation there. DK Metcalf, who I really like this season. And then one of Jalen Waddle or George Pickens. Don't have a huge stand there, but I think upside-wise, I like Jalen Waddle a little bit more. We have more potential for, like, if he actually overtakes Tyreek Hill as a top wide receiver, like, this kid could be absolutely insane this season. I don't remember which one it was. Of course it wasn't. Okay, Team 12. So started off very running back heavy and are very non-wide receiver heavy. Jeanty, Henry only goes for Ray Davis, Marshawn Lloyd, and Justice Hill later on. I think that was probably correct. You got Jawan Debo, Downs, Egbuka. Okay. I think the wide receivers you picked are good. I just don't like waiting that long for receiver. I think it was good getting as many as you did. Yeah, I don't know that I would not have a wide receiver through the 4th round. I think maybe, like, I'm fine with Kittle in that general range. Maybe that should have been JSN. Just giving you a little more upside at receiver. I know that means you wouldn't get Kittle, but yeah, I don't know. I just can't. I can't wait that long for receiver. You have to start 3 every week. You can start 4 with the flex spot. It's a pretty darn valuable position. And just how wide receivers score, just being so much more variance at the position, you're going to want a lot that you feel good about. I know people are scared off last year because that was the narrative last year. And then again, all of the top-end running backs crushed. All the top-end wide receivers got hurt, missed time, underperformed. Like, over time, that's not going to happen. And if we get a year where all these wide receivers are crushing, the teams that go wide receiver heavy are just going to run laps around you, in my opinion. It's still like if you hit on the running backs, you're still going to have a good season. But I want to go wide receiver heavy. In best ball. In redraft, I probably always want a running back in the first 3 rounds. I would probably want one of, obviously, these first round guys: Achane, Henry, JT, Bucky, Jacobs, Chase Brown, Brees. I would say if your first running back isn't one of them, you better have gotten really, really good value at wide receiver and then gotten like a sick quarterback or tight end to pair with that. And then you'd probably want to be attacking running back in the middle rounds. You can't afford to go as RB0 as you can on Underdog. Like on Underdog, you can legitimately draft like 6 receivers in a row and then start attacking some running backs because there's so much potential in lineups like that if you can hit on those mid and late running backs. Whereas in redraft, it just hurts you a little bit too much, potentially taking those losses early in the season while you kind of figure out the running back position. All right, at 70, obviously we would take one of Olave or Joe Burrow. I don't know that they're going to be there. I'd consider Monty. All right, so we can get one of them. That's probably what we're looking at. And Monty would be fine. Get that second running back, a stable running back behind Saquon who can like just take the top off for our team. But Joe Burrow makes way more sense. Like, he stacks with Higgins. I get the correlation with week 17 with Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, I think this is an exceptional start to the draft. Okay. Well, obviously, we want Monty at the next pick. I don't know that we're going to get him. If we don't get him, I kind of want to take Laporta and just be like, I think the start has been so good that, like, give me the upside of Laporta. I think I can afford it. I feel like it's like a luxury pick at this point because I don't want to go running back, and I don't think I need the receivers. So luxury pick Laporta, who when healthy last season was good. It was just, he kind of battled through some injuries. But man, Laporta in round 7, I mean, talk about someone who's not getting any sort of hype this season that had one of the best rookie seasons in the history of the NFL at tight end, and no one even cares anymore, and plays in a dome in a ton of games on a team that might be trailing more. Okay. If you had to pick one, which onesie position would you pick early? It's such a difficult question. I like builds that have, this like early to mid first round pick, and you can get one of Bowers or McBride. I definitely wouldn't reach into like the early second round to do that. If you got the tight end in round 3, I would say that's my favorite. If you had to take the tight end in round 2, which you probably have to do in a redraft league, then I probably lean quarterback, because the quarterbacks this season, they're pretty good values. You don't have to spend that early of a pick to get this like top 4, and you can afford to wait and be like, which one of the top 4 is a great value? So my plan would probably be to draft one of them. And then like, if it doesn't end up occurring, it's not the end of the world. If people end up taking the quarterbacks early, your fallback is you just get 2 later on, and it's okay. If you're scared to draft both early, taking that tight end just kind of like forces you to not take that quarterback. But again, I also think it's fine to draft both of them if you think you have kind of an edge in your league. You can kind of make those picks up a little bit later on. It's going to become interesting too, I think, in on Underdog. We're starting to see the late quarterbacks shift up. People are starting to really draft 3 quarterbacks at a high rate. And it's becoming a situation where, like, as their ADPs start to move up, I would expect some of those mid quarterbacks who have been rising to just rise a little bit further up, but it hasn't impacted early. Like, we're still getting really strong discounts on the top 4. And then Burrow falls so often because people don't want to take him naked that, like, I mean, you can get Burrow at 71. I mean, that's kind of an absurd value. Eventually, you'd imagine that as those other quarterbacks become more expensive, optimal builds are going to be drafting quarterback early, because it's like you're not giving that much value up taking these early guys. And if it's becoming more expensive to kind of double and triple dip later on, it's like, well, give me Burrow at 71. If all these other, like, much more mediocre quarterbacks are rising closer to pick, 105, yeah, give me Burrow at that point, obviously. All right, 95 and 98. This is where we have a Judkins decision to make. It's a build that makes sense to kind of go after him. If he falls to 95, I would maybe consider drafting him, and he might, because these guys already have running backs. I think that will be enough to where, like, again, I don't think his ADP is going to drop down too much further than this. And there's not very many teams so far that have done it, so if news comes out where it's nothing, then, obviously you get significant value. I'd be fine if we miss out on it, though. I have a lot of teams where I take Kyler as well as part of this Burrow-Kyler build. I think we probably have to take Judkins. We probably have to just bite the bullet and say, hopefully the ADP stabilizes close to this general range. It makes a ton of sense for us to kind of take that second running back here. I don't think it makes any sense for us to go running back again. I don't really want any of those receivers. Yeah, we're in a tough spot. I would have taken Kyler here. We don't have any Denver, but we can get it later. So that's an option for us. Or we just go with Jaden Higgins. We do need another receiver. Now let's go Jaden Higgins. I think we can figure out quarterback. I could even wait and take Aaron Rodgers and kind of get that stack I'd been talking about. I can go after Tua. I can go after... There's options for me. I don't think I had to take Bo Nix. But Bo Nix has a lot of stacking partners later, which makes him, more viable to kind of take when you don't have anyone in this range. But that's also why he tends to kind of fall to this range. Raiders were 4th in pass attempts last year. Geno and Pete Carroll also combined for a lot of pass attempts. I do kind of struggle with Bowers and Geno. Think regression will kill and Jeanty will kill the value. So they also have Chip Kelly at calling plays this year, and he loves to play fast, but he loves to run it. So at least right now, I'm expecting a drop down in pass attempts, because also they were losing every game. So you'd think if they got better, then maybe they run the ball higher. But I also agree with the Bowers thing that, if Jeanty is actually going to command way more rush attempts and targets than the running backs had last season, maybe he's used more in the red zone. That is a threat to the role of Bowers. If you think that Besh or Thornton can kind of take on that wide receiver 2 role behind Myers in terms of targets, that's a threat as well. At the end of the day, though, it was the best season by a mile for Bowers for rookie tight ends. He could also just get better with a player, and he's a cheat code. They're obviously going to still utilize him heavily. So I don't think I'd be too scared of Bowers. That could still be a reason to maybe go McBride a little bit later, or Kittle's probably a better value than both of them. And that's another thing. People have talked about that core pillars video I did yesterday. I think it came out for the mock draft Monday. Honestly, the optimal core pillars might be quarterback Kittle, getting a sick round 1 and round 2 running back and receiver, then getting a top tier, top 4 quarterback, then getting George Kittle, that sort of thing, because Kittle could be the number 1 scoring tight end this season. And if you got that plus, running back 1, wide receiver 1, that's a little bit better than spending it on Bowers, McBride, losing that running back or receiver and then foregoing that until round 4. Because obviously, I know this is Underdog, but look at the round 4 running backs and receivers compared to round 2. There's so much more upside for both of those in round 2. And I do think Kittle can outscore these guys. Now, Kittle's been climbing. He started at pick 50. He's all the way up into the upper 30s. I could see him climbing into the mid 30s. Once that starts to happen, if Kittle starts to go in this general range, well, now we're kind of sucking all the value that was there out of George Kittle. and I might stop drafting him, but I think he's like my third or fourth most rostered right now. So hopefully we're squeezing a little bit more value, and then maybe the rest of summer, everyone else is going to have to pay an elevated price tag over what I'm doing right now. It's at least the hope. But I think it makes sense, though. Like, the rise makes sense for him. Okay, 119, 122. Again, maybe I'm going to load up on Trey Harris. I don't, like, do people really think he's not going to play? And also, Trey Harris, if he had played, like, a full, 12 games last season, oh my goodness, the stat line he could have produced, he was unbelievable. It's a smaller sample size, so that's why you can't extrapolate it. But my goodness, the stat lines he was producing. So I'm probably going to end up with more of him now that he seems to be falling. If we don't get him, I don't actually mind going in Joku, because then we kind of have the like Judkins and Joku stack here. That would make sense for us. We don't have any Chicago, and we wouldn't have the stack, and I'm not a big Luther Burden fan. McCarthy's also a play. Is this person going to steal? Because don't we have... Oh, wait, no. That was the last draft. Okay. we had the Minnesota last draft. McCarthy, I don't know how much I want him at this next spot. I don't think we have to go McCarthy. Who else could we go after? Running back wouldn't be bad going after Spears. Now Luther Burton, I mean, he is top by my rankings. Okay. Be my sixth receiver, though. All right, we're going to do it because I always have that thing in my mind. When it's top by rankings, by my rankings, and by ADP, it does make sense to kind of just say, you know what, one of them is probably right, and either one can be right, and it's a good pick. I don't love him as a prospect because it's like it seems like needs some scheme stuff. Like, I don't know how well he can win on his own, but I guess you think about it in Chicago, like, I don't want to compare him to Jameson Williams, but I think about Jameson Williams, why I'm sometimes off of him is like, he needs schemed usage. He's not a player that wins on his own with routes. So obviously he wins on his own, and that like if they tell him to run a go route, he can just crush you, or just tell him to just like start sprinting left and he can just win. But he's not out there running intricate routes. And that's the same kind of view that I have as Luther Burden. But it was fine because Ben Johnson's a great offensive coordinator and he's going to put him in position to succeed. Well, if he does that in Chicago with Luther Burden, we can have the same sort of effect as J-Mo. So we'll see. My gut says that it's going to be the Odunze and DJ Moore show, but maybe later in the year, Burden kind of break out. He just needs to start practicing. He needs to be healthy in camp and practice. But yeah, kind of my general thoughts there. But there is a definite break. So you jump into this general range at receiver, and it's certainly a drop down. So I think it's fine kind of grabbing him in a range. It's not like there was any like sure things there were no sure things at the other positions there. Devontae or Evans. Devontae. You can hear why in tomorrow's video. Aaron always seems to stink. Oh, Aaron, I thought you were talking about like Aaron Jones. I was like, that's not fair. I mean, yeah, I would love him in fantasy, but if I take him in round, 16, 17, the other options are like Shuck and like taking a shot on a Colts quarterback. Like, they also probably stink. And it's more so the correlation. Like, if I take DK Metcalf, how does DK Metcalf have a huge game? Touchdowns. So you can still run into a game where Aaron Rodgers has 275 yards and 4 touchdowns because he threw a deep touchdown to Metcalf and got inside the 5-yard line, threw a slant pass or a fade route to Metcalf, and he just kind of started racking it up that way. I do think he's going to lean on Metcalf in the red zone, and that's part of the reason Metcalf can excel is touchdowns, and so you do kind of want to correlate that with Rodgers, and also gives me a chance to draft Roman Wilson, which nobody is drafting right now. Breakdown Kyron, Hall, and Cook. You probably mean as one of the breakdown videos, but I'll give a quick take on them. But also I'm doing a full running back breakdown video, I think, later this week. Okay, at 143, we don't have any Jacksonville. We can get it later, though. We have Nico, though, right? No, we don't. I was hoping we did. We only have Jaden Higgins. Oh, there goes all of them. We already have 2 tight ends, but Ferguson's a good play. Rashad White makes more sense. We'll go Rashad White. grab that third running back. After White, Guarendo wouldn't be bad either. And I wouldn't hate Jaden Blue. I don't think we have to go quarterback here, or a wide receiver here. Again, Ferguson makes sense, and I don't think we have any Carolina. I would want him stacked, Bryce Young. Oh, Tua. What's the bye week? Week 10? We'd probably go Tua. We need him to stay healthy, for Waddle to work out. High weekly ceiling, having the both of them in there. Different bye weeks, locks in that quarterback. We still have the option to go 3. And then we go Tua. And don't worry too much about a couple picks of ADP reaching. All right. It's working out. But yeah, Kyren versus Hall versus Cook. Right now I have the rankings Hall, Kyren, Cook. Cook has that unknowns of the contract situation, plus very obvious regression. Like the odds that he has as many touchdowns as last season. Like going into last year, it was like, oh man, you can't draft James Cook because he's never going to score a touchdown. Then he scores 18 touchdowns, or 16, 18. I think it was 18, but he scores 1 million touchdowns. Which is it? Is it that he's going to do that again, or it's that he's going to never score a touchdown? So I think touchdowns are just highly random. You can't really always predict them. I think he deserves to be kind of third on that list. Kyren, you have that concern of, them needing more explosiveness. That's why they go after Jarquez Hunter. Maybe Adams going there. Like they love using Kyren at the goal line, but maybe they use Adams a little bit more, so maybe the touchdowns go away there. And if he loses any sort of like touchdown upside, if he loses any sort of, third down usage, any sort of, passing down usage, it's that like he could become a pure yardage and touchdown running back, and that can be frustrating in fantasy when he doesn't score. He was scoring every week last week, and like the betting markets were saying it was like, like a 60% chance he was scoring every week. It was just every single week he was scoring. If that doesn't happen and you're only getting like 16 carries for 60 yards and no touchdowns, we know they're not throwing the running backs on the Rams, so that can be a problem. I like Breece Hall. I think I would probably put him first on the list. I know there's a lot of negative takes surrounding him. I still think he's an immensely talented player, and they're going to run the ball a ton. I don't love his it's like a 58.5 yard. I'm actually curious what all those guys have right now for their week 1 over-unders. See if I can pull that up just for rushing yardage. I'm just curious because I was surprised to see how low it was for Kyren, or for Breece Hall. Breece Hall is 58.5. 54.5 for James Cook. I don't see Kyren on the list, so maybe they just don't have him out there yet. I'm sure they don't have a lot of people. 97.5 for Saquon Barkley. 78.5 for Bijan. 80.5 for JT. Only 55.5 for Achane. 55.5 for Taryn Tracy Jr. Not bad. All right. We have about 15 seconds to make a selection. I don't think we're going to go quarterback here. Tank. I don't draft Tank that much. Maybe he's just falling. Pat. Ooh, Gesicki. I think Tank makes more sense for us. We need some of these late round running backs. We have the chance that Judkins doesn't play to start the year. We need some options. Also, we had 3 round week 9 buys. That's not ideal. I feel like I want to go with Gesicki. What if like Jamar Chase got hurt and now, T. Higgins is dropping nukes and Gesicki's really involved? I feel like that benefits our team a decent amount. I think we're going to end up going with 2 quarterbacks, so we can definitely go with that third tight end. I think that makes sense for us to do. And then we'll have 16, 17, 18. So we'll have 3 more picks. I probably want 2 more running backs, just with the unknown about Judkins. So 2 more running backs, 1 more receiver. All right. Excellent. We'll pull that up for you all. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's curious kind of sometimes to look at these lines. Again, Chase Brown, 48.5 rushing yards for week 1. Jeanty, 73.5. McCaffrey, 70.5. Derrick Henry, 87.5. Swift, 54.5. Just interesting. Do they have receiving yards? See if anyone stands out here. 53.5 for Rashee Rice seems very low. Lads at 69.5. My goodness. Marv 64.5. Neighbors 70.5. Pittman 50.5. Not a bad line for him. McBride 59.5. Judy 45.5 against the Bengals feels extraordinarily low. Nico 85.5. My goodness. Tet only 54.5. Travis Hunter at 53 or 43.5 seems pretty low. Jefferson pretty high. Only 59.5 for DJ Moore. He plays the Vikings. That's gonna be a tough matchup. All right. Rank Mixon, Walker, Kamara. Mixon, Walker, Kamara. Right now, I have it as Walker, Mixon, Kamara. My guess is in full PPR. Kamara's going to jump up there. I feel like Walker, Mixon probably deserves to be that top two. I mean, I basically just like all of them. They're all that general mold of like, you know, they're not necessarily in position to crush it. Obviously, offensive situation for Kamara is way worse, but reception upside is there. I'm a little bit more hesitant with him just being, you know, another year older for him. Not exactly going to get anything done on the ground, so it's all going to be in the receiving game. I really like the explosiveness of Ken Walker. He hasn't hit yet, but that's also been through injuries. I don't know. I think right now Ken Walker, Mixon, then Kamara makes sense, but I don't have a very strong take in that range. Would you grab Kittle if he fell to around pick 45 if you already have a tight end for a flat? No, absolutely not. You do not draft a second tight end in order to potentially trade them. You have Judkins in Dynasty. Not sure if you should trade him or hold out. Someone is offering Swift. I mean, again, you don't really want to trade your rookies before they even play. Let's see. Right now, I have... Where'd he go? I have Swift at only 10. And Judkins like a lot higher than that. I don't think you can... I don't think I would do that. I think I would still just like wait and see what happens with Judkins. Worthy or JMO? I'm pretty sure JMO, but it's very close on that one as well. Yeah, JMO by a little bit over Worthy. Worthy, I just have the concerns that he had 37.5 receiving yards per game last season, and he has more competition this year. Okay. Waller would have been another good one there, but we're not going to do that. Rico, definitely an option for us. Slayton, also an option. Yoshi is probably someone we should be attacking after. I think we go after Rico. Again, I don't know why people hate him so much. I think people are locked in on Chuba Hubbard, but Rico has an actual chance to like steal workload there. No one ever drafts Yoshi, so I feel like I'm fine waiting on him. Maybe we go after Lloyd, because obviously we're thinner at running back. I think that's the play. Draft Marshawn Lloyd. We have plenty of backups, so now we have Saquon, Judkins. If we lose Judkins, it's Rashad White, Bigsby, Rico, and Lloyd. I feel good enough about that, good enough about the quarterback room to be set there. And then obviously the wide receiver room feels solid. We're good on Laporta and Joku Gesicki. That's a strong tight end room, and we can afford whichever wide receiver late. I mean, obviously Yoshi like makes sense for our stack, but Slayton, Yoshi, I don't know that I love it, but we could go with Malik Washington to kind of pair with Tua. Maybe the loss of Jonnu has them going for more 3 wide receiver sets. Maybe they don't actually use Waller. Maybe Waller doesn't make the team. Who knows? Maybe they don't use that as much. They go 3 wide receiver sets, and Malik Washington fills that kind of screen pass, short yardage game role that Jonnu was having. I think that makes sense, and it's pretty unlikely that both of them get drafted. So we should be good to go there. Don't mind Judkins for Swift. It's not bad, but it's like you're just drafting Judkins and a month later turning around and selling him for a 50% discount. And it's like, that's a little bit tough. It's probably not a situation that is going to cause any sort of long-term concern. So someone's probably trying to just like flip him real quick. He is a great running back talent. Like the odds are he's going to have a pretty strong career. I don't know that I would just like sell him low after one news report, which again is a bad report, but I wouldn't sell him low right now. All right, so we are going to make our final pick soon once these people finish up. I'll pull this up for you all so you can kind of see it one last time. But again, we're going to take one of those wide receivers. If you have any final question, fire it away. Maybe I'll do one more, but definitely watch tomorrow's video. It is an absolute behemoth, 80 minutes of talking about the top 36 wide receivers. Team 5 thoughts. All right, we'll finish off with that. Team 5 has a hero RB-ish start. Bijan, Alvin Kamara, Swift, Javonte, Isaac Urendo. Okay, that looks solid. Rasheed, Wilson, Jamo, Pearsall, Kyle, Besh, Wando. That looks good. You've got Purdy stacked with Pearsall. Good. You've got Goff stacked with no one. So that's the one concern. I don't like the Goff is a pure pocket passer. For him to have a great game, you want to stack him with someone. And you have a lot of opportunities to stack him with someone. So I would have done that. You just drafted Wilson, which I guess is fine. I don't love going to Wilson unless you have to, just because he's probably only going to play half the season. So if you're doing it because you need that extra quarterback, sure, but it didn't seem like you needed that extra quarterback. And again, so many people are drafting 3 quarterbacks now. I don't think you have to be doing it. All right. That's going to end this one. Big video tomorrow and then big video. I don't know if it's going to be Friday or Saturday. I don't know if I'll maybe need Friday to make it. Like it's going to be a huge video, the running back one as well, but we shall see. Thank you all for coming to the live stream. Leave a like if you are still here. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm sure most of you are subscribed. But I'll catch you all on the live stream next week.